Well, I think, of course, Norman Foster is one of the most significant and important artists of his generation. I think his impact is felt around the world, not only in regard to his buildings and not only in regard to how he manifests architecture as a built environment. But if you look at the work that he has done, I would say that he, through his approach, has been a trailblazer often in regard to recognizing not so much trends, but really urgent guiding issues for architecture. And that comes, of course, with him being probably one of the first architects to understand the ecological, not so much impact, but actually the responsibility of architecture in that context. And that, yes, came out of, through his dialogue, as actually my father's also, with Buckminster Fuller, but basically really also understanding that as basically a guiding principle for design, but actually also for advocacy of architecture. I think for me, one of the first buildings that I kind of experienced by Norman Foster was the Sainsbury Centre, of course, and then a little bit later on the Carré de Nîmes. And I think with that, especially with the Sainsbury Centre, he developed a new model for spaces that can house objects or house a collection, very flexible space, but with definitory capabilities. I think that there are different ways of how you can create architecture to be an environment for objects, or there are different ways how you can define museum architecture and such. For me, one of the most important aspects, though, is also how can you further develop from there, meaning create buildings that basically at least have the possibility to be further expanded, to be further continued. Because museums often are growing organisms, are basically buildings that basically can further expand. So I would say that it fits with Norman Foster's design philosophy, that basically his buildings allow that flexibility to grow, shape, expand, or basically at least be able to absorb a function that changes over time through the growth gene that's part of within a museum identity. It is really important to set up an infrastructure that allows not only for the appreciation for a certain body of work, but actually also is fueled by the idea of organizing work, but making it so to say understandable, making it researchable, making it open, an open access, so to say, idea for the next generations. And on the other hand, also creating a generosity that comes with it, that basically is about sharing, is about access, but actually also about future inspiration and support for the next generations of architects, designers, artists in that context. I spent 16 years working as a museum director in Frankfurt, Germany. And Frankfurt is a city that's basically had to be rebuilt after the Second World War. And it has a whole number of high-rise buildings. Frankfurt is very proud of these high-rise buildings. But one has to say there has been one really signature high-rise building that Frankfurt was able to realize and really that stands out in regard to architectural quality, in regard to architectural vision, and also what it kind of did then for the rest of the infrastructure. That's the Commerzbank Tower by Norman Foster. So I think for me it was something that I kind of lived with for 16 years. I didn't work in the tower, but I've been there a whole number of times. So I really kind of have a strong relationship with that building.